Shalom, my friend. There is a mystery, an ancient principle woven through the Word of God, a revelation that has been there from the beginning. And today we are going to uncover it together, how God exposes the counterfeit, the false, the fake people in our lives. Have you ever been betrayed? Have you ever placed your trust in someone only to see their true nature come out in a moment of testing? This is not new. This is not by accident. It is by divine design. Because the God of truth will not allow lies to stand forever. The light will always expose the darkness. So how does God reveal fake people in your life? There are 4 key ways, 4 mysteries that will open your eyes. The prophet Malachi speaks of God as a refiner's fire, a purifier of silver and gold. This imagery is not just poetic, it holds a profound truth about life, relationships, and the way God reveals what is genuine and what is false. Fire does not change gold, it only reveals what is already within. When heat is applied, impurities rise to the surface, and the refiner removes them, leaving only what is pure. The same principle applies to the people around us. God allows seasons of fire, seasons of pressure, trial, and adversity not to destroy, but to reveal. Many people can seem genuine when times are easy. When everything is going well, when the sun is shining and success abounds, it is easy to surround yourself with people who appear loyal, kind, and supportive. But the truth of who they are is not revealed in abundance. It is revealed in hardship. The fire does not create their true nature. It only exposes what has been hidden beneath the surface all along. Think of Job, a righteous man, a man who feared God and walked in integrity. As long as he was blessed, as long as his wealth flourished, his children thrived, and his health remained, he was surrounded by people who honored him. But when the fire of testing came, when loss struck, when his health failed, when his world collapsed, his friends, the very people who should have supported him, revealed their true nature. Instead of comforting him, they accused him. Instead of standing with him, they judged him. They had the appearance of wisdom, the illusion of friendship, but the fire exposed them for what they truly were. God allows these tests not to harm us, but to protect us. If the people around you cannot stand the pressure, if they turn against you in difficulty, then they were never meant to walk with you into your destiny. If they abandon you when the fire comes, then they were never truly with you to begin with. The fire reveals the difference between those who are attached to you for what they can gain and those who are truly called to walk alongside you. Consider the story of Daniel's 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When King Nebuchadnezzar commanded all to bow before the golden image, many obeyed. But when the test of fire came, these 3 remained steadfast. They refused to bow, even knowing they would be thrown into the fiery furnace. And when they were cast into the fire, the truth was revealed, not just about them, but about the nature of God himself. The fire did not consume them. Instead, it exposed the presence of God in their midst. So it is in life. The people who are real, the people who are meant to stand with you will remain when the fire comes. They will not abandon you in your trials. They will not turn against you when the heat is turned up. They will stand just as those 3 men stood. And just as the fire revealed the presence of God in their lives, it will also reveal his presence in yours. There are relationships that seem strong, but only because they have never been tested. There are friendships that appear genuine, but only because they have never faced adversity. It is only when trials come, when the fire of life burns hot, that you see what people are truly made of. Some will walk away. Some will turn against you. Some will crumble under the pressure. But some will remain. Some will stand with you in the fire. Jesus himself experienced this truth. Throughout his ministry, he was surrounded by crowds, people who wanted miracles, who wanted blessings, who wanted to be near him when everything was going well. But when he was arrested, when he was led to the cross, when the moment of testing came, the crowds disappeared. The same people who shouted Hosanna one day cried, "Crucify him!" The next, even his closest disciples fled. But there was one who remained, John. When all others had scattered, John stood at the foot of the cross. The fire of persecution revealed the difference between those who followed for the miracles and those who followed out of love. The fire separates the true from the false. If you find yourself in a season of fire, take heart. God is not punishing you. He is revealing the truth. He is showing you who is meant to walk with you and who is not. He is refining you, purifying your life, and removing the dross so that only what is real remains. It may be painful, but it is necessary. It is God's way of protecting you from those who cannot withstand the heat of your calling. So do not fear the fire. Do not resist it. Let it do its work. Let it expose what needs to be exposed. Let it reveal the true nature of those around you. And when the fire has done its work, when the heat subsides, you will find yourself surrounded not by those who are merely convenient, but by those who are truly called to walk with you. You will find yourself purified, strengthened, and ready for the next chapter of your journey. The fire is not the end. It is only the beginning of what God is about to do. Judas Iscariot is one of the most infamous names in history, synonymous with betrayal, deception, and falsehood. He walked with Jesus for 3 years, witnessing miracles, hearing divine wisdom, and sharing meals with the Son of God himself. And yet, despite all of this, he was never truly one of them. He was part of the 12, but his heart was never aligned with his master. He blended in, played the part, and spoke the right words, but at the appointed time, when the moment of testing came, his true nature was revealed. This is the mystery of betrayal. It is not an accident. It is not random. It is a divine appointment, a revelation that God allows not to harm you, but to expose what is hidden. Because false people can only remain hidden for so long. They can walk beside you, speak well of you, and even serve alongside you. But in the moment of testing, when the stakes are high, when there's something to gain or something to lose, their true colors emerge. Judas was not revealed in the moments of Jesus' triumphs. He was not exposed when the multitudes were fed or when the blind received sight. He remained in the background, keeping up appearances, pretending to be devoted. It was only in the moment of betrayal, in the darkness of Gethsemane, when silver was exchanged for loyalty, that the mask fell away. And this is how it happens in our lives as well. The people who betray you are often not your enemies. They are not distant outsiders. Betrayal comes from those close to you. It comes from those you have trusted, those you have shared your life with, those you never expected would turn against you. If it were an enemy, you would see it coming. If it were a stranger, it would not hurt. But betrayal cuts deep because it comes from those you believed were true. But here is the great mystery. Judas was necessary. His betrayal was not an accident. It was part of the plan. Without Judas, there would be no cross. Without the cross, there would be no redemption. Jesus did not stop Judas. He did not expose him beforehand. In fact, he handed him the bread, a sign of honor, even as he knew what was about to happen, because Jesus understood that sometimes the betrayer is the key to unlocking your destiny. The same is true in your life. There are people who will turn against you, not because you have done anything wrong, but because it is their role in your journey. They will befriend you, walk with you, and then at the appointed time, they will show who they really are. And when they do, do not be surprised. Do not fight it. Because their exit from your life is often the gateway to your next level. Joseph understood this truth. His own brothers betrayed him, selling him into slavery. He was thrown into a pit, abandoned by those who were supposed to protect him. But had they not betrayed him, he would have never reached Egypt. Had he not gone to Egypt, he would have never stepped into his destiny as a ruler. The betrayal was painful, but it was necessary. Many people struggle with betrayal because they see it as a sign of failure, as if they should have seen it coming, as if they should have prevented it. But Jesus did not prevent Judas. He knew, and yet he allowed it, because he understood that some people must reveal themselves, and when they do, they are actually doing you a favor. Betrayal is a divine separator. It removes those who were never truly with you. It sifts through the crowd and leaves only those who are real. When Judas left, the 11 remained. And after he was gone, the power of Pentecost came. There is something about the removal of the false that makes way for the true. But there is another mystery. Judas was never meant to stay. From the beginning, he was marked for his role. And so it is with the people in your life who have betrayed you. They were never meant to go where God is taking you. They had a role, and when their role was complete, they had to leave. So do not mourn those who walked away. Do not hold on to those who have revealed their true nature. Let them go. Because what comes after Judas is the fulfillment of God's promise. What comes after betrayal is the resurrection. What comes after the false is the rise of the true. God does not allow betrayal to destroy you. He allows it to position you. He allows it to refine your circle, to separate those who are only with you for convenience from those who are truly called to walk with you. If you have faced betrayal, you are in good company. Jesus faced it. Joseph faced it. David faced it. And yet, in every case, betrayal was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. So when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Do not try to hold on to what God is removing. Do not chase after those who have turned against you. Understand that some people are only meant to be part of your journey for a season. And when that season ends, they must go. And here is the final revelation. Judas did not win. He thought he had gained something, but in the end, his betrayal only served God's purpose. The same is true for you. What was meant to harm you, God will use for good. What was meant to break you, God will use to elevate you. So if you are facing betrayal, take heart. It is not your destruction, it is your promotion. The Judas in your life is only setting the stage for what comes next. And what comes next is the fulfillment of God's plan. Jesus spoke a profound parable in Matthew 13 about the wheat and the tares. A man sowed good seed in his field, but while he slept, an enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. As the plants grew, the difference between the wheat and the tares was not immediately visible to the untrained eye. They looked the same, but in time, as the harvest approached, the truth was revealed. The wheat bore fruit, but the tares remained empty, lifeless, and counterfeit. This parable is not just about agriculture. It is a revelation of how God works in our lives. There are people who enter your life, situations that unfold, and relationships that seem genuine. In the beginning, everything appears good. The wheat and the tares grow together side by side. But given enough time, the distinction becomes undeniable. The true is separated from the false. One of the greatest mistakes people make is trying to separate the wheat from the tares too soon. When the servants in the parable saw the tares, they wanted to pull them out immediately. But the master of the field stopped them. Why? Because if they uprooted the tares prematurely, they might also uproot the wheat. The separation had to happen at the appointed time, when the harvest was ready. This is how God works in your life. There are people who do not belong in your future, but they have been allowed to grow alongside you for a season. You may question why God does not remove them right away. You may wonder why He allows certain people, certain relationships, and certain influences to remain, but there is wisdom in His timing. If God removed them too soon, it could cause damage to what He is growing in you. Some lessons must be learned, some experiences must unfold, and some exposures can only happen at the right time. Consider Jesus and His disciples. For 3 years, Judas was among them. He was part of the group. He preached, performed miracles, and walked alongside the others, but he was never truly one of them. And yet Jesus did not remove him. He allowed him to remain, because the separation of the wheat and the tares does not happen in the beginning. It happens at the time of harvest. And when the time came, Judas separated himself. His own actions revealed his true nature. This is a pattern throughout Scripture. When Israel was delivered from Egypt, a mixed multitude came with them. Not all who left Egypt were truly for God. Some were there for the benefits, not because they truly believed. And as they journeyed through the wilderness, their true nature was exposed. When difficulty arose, when trials came, they complained, they turned against Moses, and they longed for Egypt. Time revealed who was genuine and who was not. The same is true in your life. There are people who appear to be for you. They speak well of you. They may even seem to support you. But time is a divine revealer. The pressure of life, the seasons of testing, and the passing of time will bring exposure. Those who are real will remain. Those who are false will separate themselves. You do not have to fight to remove the wrong people from your life. You do not have to expose them yourself. God will do it. He will allow circumstances to unfold in such a way that the truth becomes undeniable. And when that moment comes, do not try to hold on to what God is separating. The wheat and the tares may look the same for a season, but their destinies are different. The wheat is gathered into the barn. The tares are bound and burned. In the end, what is real will be preserved, and what is false will be removed. This principle applies not just to people, but to every aspect of life. There are opportunities that seem promising, but are not from God. There are paths that appear to be right, but lead to destruction. There are moments when everything looks good on the surface, but time will reveal what is truly from God and what is not. Patience is key. Do not be anxious when you see people prospering who you know are not walking in truth. Do not rush to separate yourself from situations that God has not yet removed. Trust in His timing. The exposure will come. The separation will happen. And when it does, you will see that it was necessary for your growth, your protection, and your future. If you find yourself in a season where you are questioning why certain people are still in your life, why God has not yet removed what seems unnecessary, take heart. The wheat and the tares must grow together for a season, but the harvest is coming. And when it does, the separation will be clear. Your responsibility is not to force the process. It is to remain faithful, to stay rooted, and to trust that God is working even when you cannot see it. Because in the end, what is real will stand, and what is false will fall away. And when that moment comes, you will walk into the future that God has prepared, free from the burden of the counterfeit and surrounded by what is truly from Him. There are moments in life when people walk away, when doors unexpectedly close, when relationships fall apart, and when opportunities we once thought were certain suddenly disappear. In those moments, it is easy to feel confused, hurt, and abandoned. We wonder why things did not work out, why someone who seemed loyal turned against us, or why something we worked so hard for slipped through our fingers. But what if those losses were not setbacks? What if they were divine redirections? God's way of protecting us from what we could not yet see. God is not only a provider, a healer, and a deliverer, He is also a protector. And sometimes His protection comes in the form of removal. When God removes something or someone from your life, it is not to hurt you, it is to shield you from what you do not yet understand. There are people who may seem right for you now, but God, in His infinite wisdom, sees their future actions, their hidden motives, and the impact they would have on your destiny. Rather than allowing them to remain until they cause greater damage, He intervenes and removes them before they can hinder your purpose. Consider Abraham and Lot. When God called Abraham, He told him to leave his country, his people, and his father's household to go to the land God would show him. But Abraham took Lot with him, even though Lot was never part of the original instruction. For a time, things seemed fine, but eventually conflict arose between their herdsmen. The land could not support both of them, and it became clear that they could not walk together any longer. So they separated, and immediately after Lot left, God spoke to Abraham again, reaffirming His promise and expanding His vision. The divine redirection was necessary for Abraham to step fully into what God had planned. Lot represented something that was familiar, something Abraham may have wanted to hold on to, but God knew that Lot's presence would only bring distraction and division. Sometimes God removes people not because they are evil, but because they are not meant to go where He is taking you. They were part of your journey for a season, but they cannot be part of your destiny. And if you try to hold on to what God is removing, you will only delay what He is trying to do in your life. One of the most painful examples of divine redirection in the Bible is found in the life of Jesus. Throughout His ministry, He was followed by large crowds. People were drawn to His miracles, His teachings, and His authority. But when He began speaking difficult truths, when He declared that following Him would require sacrifice, many turned away. At one point, even some of His disciples left Him. Yet Jesus did not run after them. He did not beg them to stay. He simply let them go. Why? Because those who were truly called to walk with Him would remain, and those who left were never meant to continue the journey. The same is true in your life. When God removes people, it is because their part in your story has ended. And if you keep chasing what He has already removed, you will miss what He is trying to bring into your life. Divine redirection is not always about people. Sometimes it is about closed doors. There are times when you pray for a job, an opportunity, or a breakthrough, and instead of an open door, you are met with rejection. You may not understand it at the moment, but what if that closed door was God's way of saving you from something that would have led to frustration, compromise, or even destruction? Joseph experienced this in a profound way. He had a dream of greatness, But before he could step into that dream, he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. It seemed like betrayal, but in reality, it was divine redirection. If Joseph had stayed in his father's house, he would never have reached the palace. The betrayal that seemed like a setback was actually the route to his destiny. What his brothers meant for evil, God used for good. God sees the full picture. He knows what is ahead, and he removes things not to punish, but to protect. When you experience divine redirection, you have two choices. You can either fight against it, trying to hold on to what is being taken away, or you can trust that God is leading you to something better. One of the greatest challenges in divine redirection is learning to accept loss as part of God's plan. It does not always feel good. In fact, it can be painful. But just because something is painful does not mean it is not necessary. A surgeon must cut to remove what is harmful. A gardener must prune to allow new growth. And God must remove what is not aligned with your future so that you can walk fully in your purpose. So when you find yourself in a season of loss, rejection, or unexpected endings, do not despair. Do not see it as a punishment or a sign that something has gone wrong. Instead, see it as a divine intervention. A merciful act of God protecting you from what you cannot see. If you could see the dangers he is shielding you from, you would not fight his redirection. You would thank him for it. The next time someone walks away, the next time an opportunity closes, the next time you face an unexpected detour, remind yourself this is not the end. This is God leading you to something greater. Trust in his wisdom, trust in his timing, and trust that what he removes, he replaces with something far better than you could have ever imagined. So, my friend, if you are in a season where you are seeing fake people exposed, do not fear. It is God at work. The fire, the betrayal, the passage of time, and divine redirection. These are all ways that God protects you, refines you, and leads you into your destiny. The fake must be revealed so that the true may rise. Walk in wisdom, walk in discernment, and trust that the one who began a good work in you will complete it. Shalom and God bless.